You know, I like this so much that I'm doing it for a second time. On this episode, I once again open the floor to the panel, and for the next hour or two, we'll go around on a range of video game related topics. It's another open sound off, the second of our free play episodes this year. I haven't a clue as to what today's panel will bring, and the curiosity is building. What will we give our thoughts and opinions on this episode? Find out on this free play episode of Downloadable Content. Welcome to Downloadable Content. I am Brian. Still Brian, will always be Brian. And with me back on this episode, it is a double Ron attack. We have Ron.
Yeah.
And Ronny.
Greetings.
Welcome back. Hopefully the internet will hold itself under the weight of the double Ron.
It never has before.
Yes, but I have super internet now, so, you know, it could... It might work.
It went through an 80s training montage.
Oh.
Yes. Or the punch out montage when you beat a boss or whatever. But Little Mac in the pink jumpsuit. But anyway, yes, it is an open sound off. We have no set topic for this episode. Personally, I think it'd be nice just to open the floor and not have a set subject. Just talk about whatever, because there's a lot of stuff out there that we cannot make an hour's podcast out of. So, little drabs, bits, little news. And so, that's what we are going to do. So, I think I will start with the first topic of discussion. I've been seeing a lot of news articles in the past couple of weeks talking about the Wii U and how horrible it's doing, which is no secret to anybody. Anybody who's been watching Nintendo closely knows that the Wii U, quite frankly, is just limping along. And so, as a result, more and more people are demanding Nintendo release its first-party properties to other platforms. And so, I ask you guys, what do you think about something like that?
I think if they did that, we are going to be seeing the next Sega. I don't believe that if they release their first party properties to other consoles, that they are going to be staying making their own consoles for very long.
I tend to agree with that. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of people saying, Nintendo, you should put, Mario out on smartphones and things like that. And meanwhile, Satoru Iwata has basically been telling all these people, fuck off.
I mean, are we really looking forward to seeing more of the Legend of Zelda games for the 3DO?
I just think that right now it's the first-party titles that are keeping Nintendo afloat, let's be honest, because they're not getting a lot of third-party support.
Isn't that kind of always true of Nintendo?
Even more so than usual, considering that several developers and publishers have straight up said, we have no games in development for the Wii U. We have no desire to make a game for the Wii U.
Yeah, I mean, just a week ago, and I was talking about this on another podcast, on the Gaming Death podcast. We were talking about, Bethesda, for example, has no plans to make anything for the Wii U. Not a one. And Bethesda's, I mean, obviously we know what Bethesda is capable of. And, the lack of third-party support for the Wii U. I mean, Nintendo is now pretty much relying on its first parties, and I think if they relinquished them, that would pretty much spell the end, I think.
I was going to say, right now, as you brought this up, I'm actually Googling information because as much as I love Nintendo, I don't have a Wii U, so I haven't been keeping up on this as much. But yeah, they cut their sales projections for the upcoming year by 17%, 5.5 million to 4 million. That's a big jump.
That is a huge jump. I mean, I know we saw. I don't know if both of you saw the Nintendo Direct presentation from E3. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming down later, which is the problem. I mean, it looks like Nintendo is going to start making good games for its systems later. But I mean, in the meantime, they're just hemorrhaging.
Well, isn't that what they did? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I remember from when the Wii was released, it just like the Wii U, it sold through its initial allotment very fast, and then it slowed down a lot for like a year before all the good titles came out.
Well, the Wii was so new and so innovative at the time that stores couldn't keep the thing in stock. I mean, I ended up getting mine almost a year after its release because anytime a retail store near me had any in stock, they were sold within minutes. So for the first couple of years of the Wii, these things were flying.
I suppose the big question is going to be, like, the question that I'll pose to you is, do you believe this is Wii U specific, or do you believe that when the two other new consoles come out, that sales are going to be down for them as well? Do you believe this is strictly a Nintendo issue, or are they the first people hit with it because they were the first ones to release?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I'm seeing information about how many stores have already blown through their pre-order allotments for the PS4.
Well, Nintendo, so like I'm looking at the thing what I was just pulling up. Yes, it's off of Wikipedia, but they sold their initial allotment almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It's only the sales that came after that my cell phone goes off. It was only after that that the sales started to slow down.
I mean, I have no idea. I mean, the three systems, Wii U, PS4, and the Xbox One, I mean, they all have different price points. Nintendo, the Wii U is at $300 and $350 for whatever flavor of Wii U decide to get. PS4 will be $400, and the Xbox One will be $500. It might. I mean, with regards to the PS4 and the Xbox One, I'm seeing a mix of articles. Some say that these two systems will be, popular like hotcakes for a long time, and then I see others saying that the two are in danger of limping along right after they come out.
That's what I kind of think is going to happen.
My thinking is that the reason that Nintendo isn't doing well is more so because of like the lack of third party. Like a lot of the Sony's, like the PS4 and Xbox One hype has to do with not so much the first party games that are coming from them, because like there's only a couple really for each of those consoles. It's a lot of the third party games that are like either platform specific or like multi-platform. Like if you buy one consoles, like say for example you buy the PS4, well you can play like Infamous, and you have your God of War series and things like that, but you can still also play your third-party games because they're more like multi-platform. So you're going to be able to play your Destiny and your Call of Duty and your Battlefield.
That's the keep going.
And there's there's no third-party games on like. I mean, this has been an issue with Nintendo probably since Nintendo 64, to be completely honest. Like, name a third-party publisher other than Rare that's been on the Nintendo that's been notable. Like, maybe Capcom for Resident Evil 4 for the GameCube launch, and that's about it.
I mean, the Wii was part of the initial launch for Street Fighter 4. So Capcom's kind of been keeping in that.
Yeah, but I mean that's Capcom because Capcom whores anything and everything out.
Nintendo's lived off of its first party games, but a lot of the reason why people bought Nintendo systems is because Nintendo as a first party developer is the strongest of the three as a first party developer.
Well, I'm not arguing that point at all. I'm just saying like that there's the quality of Nintendo's first party games is, I would say, unrivaled. But I don't know if you can sell a system even with that quality of titles.
Mhm.
Like I don't know, like, this is me personally speaking, I don't think I would buy a system just to play 3 games. And that's Mario, Zelda, and Metroid. Like, I honestly don't think I would buy a game, like, even if it was like those 3 games, like, I don't even think I'd want to spend like $500 to play those 3 games. I much rather want to spend my money on like a PlayStation 4, for example, because there's going to be more games that come out on that, I feel. Maybe not initially at the launch, like there may be 1 or 2 games at launch I may want to get and play right away. I feel like over the lifetime of the system, that there's going to be more games for the PS4 that I would want to play compared to the Wii U, because for the Wii U, you've got, I mean, like I said, like you have Mario, you're going to have a Zelda,
Smash Brothers.
There's Smash Brothers, and then there's maybe
Well,
a Metroid. We have no clue if the Metroid is even going to be on the Wii U.
here's a question: how did you feel about the original? Before we go any further, how did you feel about the original Wii? The same way?
I think the original Wii at launch was better than the Wii U because because you had Metroid Prime 3 near that launch day too, so you could address the hardcore audience, and you still had your casual audience covered with your Wii parties and your Wii Fits and your other like, games like that.
And kind of going right along with that, you also had the Twilight Princess, which, while it wasn't exclusive, it was also on GameCube. If you picked up your Wii, you could pick that up as well.
Exactly. So, I mean,
Crossover titles.
yeah. So you have a couple showings of the first party, and they were both very well done. And then you had your casual games covered too. So
Not to mention Virtual Console.
yeah, Virtual Console, which was new for the Wii at the time. Also, you could get a lot of your old NES games or SNES games onto the Wii at the time, and that was, and at the time, the Wii was probably better off than the Xbox Live or PlayStation Network for that type of like playing your old catalog of games.
I from what I've seen so far, and this is just my opinion, the Wii U, the Xbox, and the PlayStation, their new system should just be called the Wii Plus, the PlayStation Plus, and the Xbox Plus, because there's nothing to show me anything that they're basically not just the same systems a little bit stronger. And my assumptions are basically going off of the fact that they're going to be playing to the same strengths that they played with last generation.
Oh yeah, probably, but like,
Oh,
I agree.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was actually going to go somewhere with that. I was going to say that with the Wii being down in sales the way it is, I'm just wondering if this might be, whether it's a cost thing or whatever else for the families out there right now. I'm honestly just wondering if all this doomsaying about Nintendo and their problems with the Wii, that this might be a more widespread problem than just Nintendo.
I mean, we still are recovering from the recession or depression or whatever the hell that they're trying to spin it these days. Like, people still are recovering. They're trying to get their financials in order and things like that. So I'm certain that's a part of it. But at least for me, I look at the pricing on the Wii U and the PlayStation 4, and I think it's mostly reasonable for what I'm paying. Like, the Wii U probably is a little expensive. Like, maybe it should be like $275 and $325. I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I don't know, $275 and $325 is like, maybe it should be like $275 and $325. I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkward pricing, but it's probably, I know it's like awkw I think it would be more consumer friendly than the flat, like you must be at number divisible by 0 or by like 10 and not a 5. So, and as for the PS4, like from what I'm seeing and hearing, like I really feel like the PS4 price point is really good because you're paying just for the system and the controller and whatever else it comes bundled with, and that's it. And then you can spend that remaining another $100 or so on games, and that would be able to keep you entertained at least for a couple months probably. Whereas with the Xbox One, I feel that they're basically forcing you to buy the Kinect with it, and more than likely, like almost none of the game developers are going to use the Kinect extensively for their games. Like they may have like little gimmicks for the Kinect, but they're not going to base their gameplay around the Kinect camera. So Microsoft is having you spend an extra $100 just to get in the front door.
I definitely agree with you. The Xbox One is overpriced. Honestly, I think the PS4 is going to be hurt with its $400 price point. I think the Wii U's price point, whether the Wii U is, regardless of anything else, I think that's the price point they all should have tried to shoot for, the $300 to $350 range.
Although I agree with you there, but keep in mind that these console makers, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, they're all selling their systems for a loss, and it's a question of how much of a loss were they willing to take.
Well, the question is, I'll use the PS3 as an example. The PS3, almost without a doubt, and this is coming from somebody who I did not like the PS3. It almost without a doubt was the strongest of the systems, but the cost, they priced themselves out at the beginning of the generation.
Oh, they were certainly able to did.
Oh yeah, they certainly did. Like, I mean, you have to look at the PS3. Like when they first came out, it was $500 for a base model and $600 for the larger version, and you almost were required to buy the larger version because you could play your PS2 games on the $600 version, but you couldn't on the $500 version. So you're talking that like and at the time too, like the components that they were using, like it was like Sony was like taking a loss on every system they sold because the components that they were using for like the $500 one was like maybe $500, and the $600 one was like $700.
It seems like they think that they need to use more powerful components to make it better every time, which is true. But what they need to keep in mind is there is a set point where if they cross a pricing line, they're going to start losing sales because of the cost. And Sony learned that last generation. And the question is, we need to figure out where that line is.
From what I remember reading and seeing, and from my own personal knowledge, the components that are in the PS4, if you tried building it on its own, is maybe, memory serves, it was around like $450 to $500 if you try buying those components like wholesale essentially. So Sony's taking a $50 to $100 loss for every console that they're selling, at least for the initial like year or two. That's not that bad, considering they can probably make that money back through PlayStation Network plus memberships.
They also make it up in games, so...
Yeah, they also make it up in games, too, because the games would be $50 or $60.
That was a long-winded circle from should Nintendo release their first-party franchises to talking about price points.
We didn't even talk about your original subject.
Yeah. To get to the original subject, should Nintendo release it? No, because the moment they do, they turn into the Sega.
Yeah.
That was now that ate up 16 minutes. All right, one of you guys.
You got something wrong?
I want to talk about esports again, but I don't know. I don't know if I have a specific topic again on it. Though I guess There,
esports is in what context? Like gaming as a spectator sport almost?
well,
or-
like esports in the sense of like there's like StarCraft 2 and League of Legends and Dota 2 and things like that. Like you have like professional players like
You mean like the original StarCraft?
yeah,
They were doing it for years before everybody else got in on it.
yeah, and like it seems to me like it's taking off a lot more. Like within like the past 3 or 4 years, I think I probably mentioned this once before. But do you think like this is something that you guys would enjoy watching eventually?
Well, certainly with the advent of sites like Twitch TV, you know,
There's a market for it.
there is a huge market for it, bigger than I had anticipated. We all enjoy, well, some of us enjoy. I know some of us hate having other people watch us play video games. But, Twitch TV in particular, that has certainly opened a huge door for people watching video games. I mean, just checking out the Twitch TV Facebook page, they are constantly listing events that are going on live. For example, about an hour ago, actually, they posted that the International Dota 2 Championships are going on. They're actually going on as we speak.
And here's the worst part. This kind of stuff is actually, like, as we're getting much more popular about it here, in other countries, this has been popular for a while now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
What did we say? StarCraft is the national pastime of Korea?
Yes.
Yeah, South Korea. We have to be specific for a moment here.
And actually,
national pastime South Korea.
League of Legends has finally beaten out StarCraft earlier this year as the most played game there.
Yep. And along with the fact that China, like, for all of the oppressiveness that China has, like, there's a huge Dota 2 game, like, huge Dota 2 scene in China, and a huge League of Legends scene in China that's starting to take off as well. So, it's just interesting to see. It's like, I also like eventually wonder, like, when is this going to make the jump from the internet to TV? Because I think at this point it's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
I think so too. Didn't we have? I mean, I don't have cable. Didn't we have a channel? Wasn't it G4? Was that the?
Oh yeah, before Tech TV turned into G4, and then they kind of got it stopped being what you're thinking of. But yes, at one point we did.
At the memory serves, at the time that you're thinking of, this was like 2006, 2007. G4 was a television cable thing that you, like, paid cable, you had to get to watch, where they would talk about video games and they like talk with developers. It was more like a video game information channel and not so much a video game streaming channel.
They also had XPlay where they do reviews, and they did do when they had like StarCraft's championships, and when they had a couple of the national championships, they did put them on the channel. But
Yeah,
it was like a general thing.
maybe like World Cyber Games they may have had on there too, but that would be about it.
But I mean, yeah, I was surprised at how much of a market this type of stuff has. I mean, I find myself now watching events on Twitch, which didn't happen until recently. I'm like, holy shit, this is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, and then like just to give people an example, like right now I'm loading up like Twitch's like main page and Dota 2. Let's see, Dota 2. They have the international going on, like Brian said, and there's currently 22,000 people watching it, which doesn't sound like a whole lot. But keep in mind, like, this is during downtime when there's not any gameplay being done. Like, there's 28 minutes until the championship starts up for day 4, and I remember there being numbers for like League of Legends, and I imagine Dota 2 has had this happen as well, where people watching like League of Legends streams, like for like the championship series or like the Korean the Korean like official pro league gamers, like that generally hits 80,000 to 100,000. The North American LCS, which is like basically North America's pro scene, that hits anywhere from 100 to 150,000 people watching it. And then you have the EU LCS, which again like European Union people, like again that's also hitting 100 or 150,000 whenever they stream their pro league. So this is like, we're talking like and these are the people that know about it. Like I imagine if you had more people that knew about this, I'm sure more people would watch it.
Well, I mean, I'm planning on devoting an entire episode sneak peek, future episode of downloadable content. We're going to spend the entire episode talking about gaming as a spectator sport. But I mean, I started really to get aware of this when I went to PAX the first time, because I typically don't play multiplayer on video games, or I mean, I don't have enough friends in this area to have them all come over my place for a weekend of gaming.
I was gonna say, I think I've brought this up on one of the podcasts before, but the only system I have that's even connected to the internet is the Wii for the Virtual Console. I haven't played a game online in years.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, I started to be aware of it at PAX when people were playing. It wasn't it was League of Legends this past PAX that I went to. I forget what game it was 2 years ago when I went, but just the crowds of people watching. And then at the end of PAX, 4,000 people crammed into a theater to watch people play the mobile game Space Team. And that was when I first became aware of it. I was just like, holy hell, this is fun. I found myself cheering and clapping along with everybody else. I was like, holy hell. So yeah, so when is ESPN going to get the rights to the Dota Championships?
Yeah, and like it's an interesting thing too. Like I think like we should probably say this more for the gaming as a spectator sport episode. But there's people that are in the that are working for Twitch that like pros and cons. Like they've addressed the pros and cons of like it being on TV, and it's just interesting to see how that transition would work.
I can only imagine you'd have to then start thinking about sponsorships and getting licensing rights, and that could be a nightmare.
Yeah. So,
alrighty, that's lovely. All right, so let's see. Ron brought up that. Ronny, what about you?
Okay, let me start this off by asking you guys, how old are you guys? Brian?
27.
27. Ron?
26.
26. Okay, and I'm going to be turning 30 in a couple months. I'm pretty sure all of you would agree that you have less time for games than you have in the past.
Certainly.
Probably.
Yeah.
So, one thing that I've been thinking about is both how they already have and how games are catering to people who have less time than they used to, because that's most of the gaming populace, and ways that they can appeal to people who have less time. Because there's some games that I just won't pick up because I know that I will not pick up Skyrim. Because I know that I do not have the time to devote to it. I just don't.
I mean, I had a similar problem just this past semester. I had a bunch of games that were sitting on the shelf that were just collecting dust. Mass Effect 3, Bioshock Infinite, Dead Space 3, all games and RPGs, all games that require a massive time
commitment,
and I just didn't have it. And luckily, over the summer, I've managed to blow away all of that backlog. But I think that's where that is where the mobile games are getting their soaring rise in popularity from. They're quick.
I'll agree with that. I mean, I think there's things they can do though to make them easier for people to give us better ease of access. A major one for me is games where you can save anywhere, because then you can put them down when you need to. You don't have to hunt down a checkpoint or a typewriter.
Well, you said you won't pick up Skyrim. Skyrim has a save anywhere feature.
I agree. That Skyrim isn't exactly the best example for me to use, because the main reason I won't pick up Skyrim is because I'm a completionist.
Yes, you are.
And I will be playing that game for the rest of my life. But, some features that really appeal to me in games are, like, games, like I said, that you can save anywhere. There's no reason that you can't save anywhere. Like, a couple of games, they go, well, it lowers the tension when you know you can just save anywhere. Well, fine, then make it so that when you load the game, it gets rid of that save file. So that you can save when you need to stop. But it's not like you can just save and then die and then go back. You can put checkpoints where it saves. Another one...
More and more games are doing that.
I agree. Remember I said that these are things that they're doing right now? I'm trying to recognize things they're doing well. Another one that I really like, that I've really only seen 2 games do it so far. I know there's more. You can probably inform me. But games that let you increase or decrease the difficulty at any time.
Oh, yes.
A great example is The World Ends With You. You can raise or lower the difficulty at any time in between any battle, and it just increases or decreases your rewards from the battle. Another example, Catherine does the same thing, where you can change the difficulty anytime.
BioShock does that. I know that.
That's awesome.
BioShock does that. I think Mass Effect does that. Those are 2 games. I think Dead Space also. I think those are the games that pop into my head immediately.
Wow, a couple of those are all made from the same developer.
How about that?
And I think they save anywhere too. They just got their shit together.
Oh yeah, you have BioShock, which is Irrational, and yeah, but I think, yeah, I know definitely for certain BioShock Infinite, you can do that because there are specific trophies or achievements that you can get in BioShock Infinite, for example, that are contingent on you leaving the game on a certain difficulty for the entire game.
I guess it just comes down to the game companies respecting the time of the people who are playing them and making it so that it's accessible no matter how much or how little time you have to spend.
There's also the question of, like, you mentioned, like, saving it anywhere. Another feature I think is, like, the recap. Like, if you've been away for a long time, like, sometimes, like, I've played games to, like, 20, 30, 40 hours in, and then I just stop playing it because either I get busy or I lose interest, like, and then I try and pick it up, like, a week or 2 or a month or 2 or later, and, like, I have, like, no clue where I am, so I feel like, well, shit, I need to go back and play this all over again. Like, why don't they have a detailed recap option? Be like, hey, when we last left off in Dragon Ball Z sort of thing going on here. Like, why don't we have that in games more often?
RPGs are notorious for that.
Final Fantasy 13, despite any other problems, has an amazing one like that.
They do. That's one good check on Final Fantasy 13. You found one.
But that's a great idea. That's not a great idea. That's just a great thing to bring up. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
There's also, I think, another thing I remember too of like you mentioned saving anywhere. Like, I know one of the arguments against it was more so like the quote unquote save scumming, where you basically just like save, make a move, save, make a move, like try and then if you mess up somewhere, like okay, you just go back like 1 or 2 save points, then start over from there. But you could counteract that by having it be like less of a save anywhere and more of a quick save, where in an emergency you quick save, the game will save your current state, and then the moment you reload, it blanks the quick save.
Exactly, that's what I was bringing up. Have actual checkpoints throughout the levels where it makes a permanent save, but you can do a quick save anytime, and it just goes away when you load it.
Mass Effect does that.
Yeah. One game that came out recently that doesn't do that and really pisses me off is Shadowrun Returns. It has the only time it saves, it's an autosave, so it's nice, but it only automatically saves at the beginning of a stage or a predetermined like point in the mission. So and if you screw up in the mission, because it can be a fairly unforgiving game, if you screw up and die, you can lose anywhere from 30 to like anywhere from 10 to 45 minutes worth of play, and just get straight up like gone.
Dead Space 3 does that, and I hated it.
Yeah, so it's just, and that's like one of the things that I just did not like. That really irked me about Shadowrun Returns for all the good things it does right.
And it was weird because I've been playing now so many games that have an autosave or a save anywhere feature that when I recently played Lost Odyssey, which is a JRPG for the Xbox 360, it's a classic JRPG also in the sense of saving. You have to find physical save points. It was like, holy shit, I haven't experienced one of these in a while.
Not to completely jump off your point, but this actually brings up something that's on my list to mention.
Go ahead.
Why is it that there's so much hatred for JRPGs nowadays?
I'll tell you the answer. Because many people now, especially people our age or older, who have grown up on JRPGs, think of them as old, boring, tired, things like that. That's essentially it.
And also the fact that they didn't reuse a lot of the same tropes. Like,
that's part of that old, boring, tired.
And Call of Duty doesn't?
Yeah, but we haven't been saturated with Call of Duty for 25 years yet. Also, keep in mind, Call of Duty is just kill everything. We like killing.
Oh, okay.
We like if there's one thing the human race has absolutely perfected ever since we crawled out of the mud, it's how to kill.
I remember that on your Facebook status. Way to quote yourself. But I mean, like, JRPGs are my favorite genre, and I struggle every year to find ones to play, and at this point, it's getting to the point where the majority of the time I have to go to indie games.
Yes, because that's
Cthulhu saves the world.
Yeah, that's why they're there. I mean, a lot of people now see them, and also because we have a lot of developers in the United States and in Canada and in Britain or whatever that are making games. We are no longer really importing the vast majority of our games from Japan anymore.
Well, when I say JRPG, I mainly mean the JRPG style rather than explicitly from Japan.
No, I understood that. It was just that we don't rely on Japan for the bulk of our games anymore. But yeah, and I mean, I brought up Lost Odyssey just a minute ago, and I'll bring it up again. It was widely criticized by the gaming media at large because it uses what we have come to know and love as typical JRPG tropes. And things like random battles, and people are calling them, reviewers. I shouldn't say gamers. I specifically mean gaming media, the gaming press. Boring and tired, and we've seen this forever and ever. And
well, I'd say the Western RPGs have their own set of tropes that are followed pretty much just as religiously. And trust me, I'm fully behind, changing up, some of the tired tropes. But it's like when they nail JRPGs for their tropes, but then they, ignore the tropes of the other games that they, lavish with praises, it seems a little disingenuous.
I agree. We haven't.
It's like let me use one example. It's like way back in the day. God, what the heck was the name of that the old video game magazine. Game something. But,
Game Pro?
thank you! Game Pro, their original, their original person who did all of the RPG reviews for the first year of Game Pro, he was a sports gamer who hated role-playing games. But he was the only one they could find who would do them for them. So up until they got their next crew of reviewers in about a year later, all of the RPGs got astoundingly low reviews because it was being reviewed by somebody who hated them. And then they got somebody else who actually understood the genre.
Funny that.
I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening on a lot of these, but it seems like it's people who didn't like JRPGs to begin with are now decrying them.
Yeah, it's kind of like pot and meat kettle in a way. And, I still enjoy JRPGs. Also, keep in mind that things that are in JRPGs, the typical tropes, aren't seen as politically correct anymore, particularly with regards to female characters.
Well, the JRPGs I tend to be the biggest fans of are ones with kind of awesome female characters.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, a lot of JRPGs really objectify their women, and it is no longer seen as, a good thing. It's very politically taboo.
I agree. That's something that should change.
Agreed.
But is that what they're bringing up?
No.
Actually not.
No. No.
I'm not objectifying Luca when I say that she can build me a machine anytime.
It's just that a lot of the complaints now for JRPGs are that, they're tired, they're boring, they have nothing new, etc., etc.
Sorry for going off on a rant.
That's okay. You're allowed to do so on this episode. That's the point. You're typically allowed to do so on other episodes, but on this one specifically.
This is the rant episode of downloadable content.
Yeah, this is the you're allowed. So we've got a few minutes left. I will bring up one last topic before we cut to break. Another point of news that has been cropping up recently, it brings up everyone's new favorite punching bag, and that's Microsoft. I don't know, Ronnie or Ron, if you've seen the news that Microsoft is now going to be benevolent and throw in the HDMI cable that you need to play the system.
Oh, you mean they're backpedaling?
Yes, the backpedaling continues.
If they go back any further, they're going to be like going negative miles in their car.
In the latest episode of As the Microsoft Shoots Itself in the Face, they are now including with the Xbox One a headset and an HDMI cable. Now, originally, those two items were going to be separate. Initially, I didn't have a problem so much with the headset because I don't use my Xbox 360 for multiplayer. I don't use the headset. But the Xbox One, they're getting rid of the component cables and the standard audio-video cables. They're only using HDMI, and it's required for the system, but they weren't originally going to include that cable. They were going to originally make you buy the cable separately, despite it being a required component for it to work. Now
Microsoft and your douchebaggery.
And I saw this news last week, and I'm like, oh, thank you, benevolent fuckers.
Oh, God. I mean, how did they think any of this was a good idea? Did they really think that people were just going to shut up and let them do what they were doing? Like, really?
I think the way Microsoft initially handled the Xbox One's announcement and all that, they're kind of this generation Sony.
They are.
Because Sony, if we remember, Sony's PS3 reveal, they were the ones, boisterous, big and bad, this is the only system you'll ever need. Bullshit.
And Sony brought up the same PS4 always on no used games. PS4 was the original one that was toying around with the idea, but long before their actual announcements, they got enough negative press to not do it. Apparently, Microsoft wasn't listening to the fans at that point.
Yeah, Microsoft didn't get the memo, clearly. And now they've gotten the memo in abundance, and are very quickly backpedaling on pretty much everything.
I do think it's hilarious, though, that one thing I've heard from my friends is, oh, I'm never going to buy an Xbox because, they could turn that always-on requirement on at any time and turn the thing on that only lets me use used games at any time. And I look at them and I go, those were Sony's ideas originally. They could turn it on at any time, too. Like, if you're going to be paranoid about both of them, because neither one of them is out there for your benefit. They're out there to make money. And if they don't do something like this, it's only because they think they're going to lose money by doing it, because you will stop buying their systems.
Yeah, I'm just whatever. At this point, I mean, I'm not getting any system at launch because A, I don't have the money. B, I don't have the money.
I was actually talking to Deja before the PS4's actual announcement about getting a PS4 if it was backwards compatible with the PS3, because we never owned one, and there were games we wanted to play. As soon as it announced that it was not going to have backwards compatibility, there went my interest in getting it anywhere close to launch, if at all.
Mm-hmm. So that's basically the thing. I mean, I will stick to my usual strategy of not getting the system until there's enough of a library of games that I want to play, in which I then feel justified in purchasing the system.
If I got a PS4 at launch, it would probably be because there were games on it I wanted to play right away. But more than likely, I would probably wait 6 months after launch, because then they'll have the hardware issues mostly fixed by then.
Yeah, that's another good point. I mean, let the people who buy it at launch break it first, and then we'll go.
After all, we don't want another Red Ring of Death issue.
Yeah, if this was something like the PS3, where if you bought one of the launch PS3s, or one of the fat PS3s, a year, I think, of the original launch, because then that was the backwards compatible version, that makes more sense. But once they took out the backwards compatibility entirely with the PS2 games, I was I'm not really having any desire to buy you until much later on.
I know we need to wrap up. Let me say at least one more thing, Brian. One thing that's gotten me about this is when they go, well, we can't have the systems be backwards compatible. The architecture doesn't allow it. Well, yes, the architecture you built right now doesn't allow it, but you built it that way because you did not care about backwards compatibility. If you cared about backwards compatibility, you would have built it differently. That's a circular argument.
Yeah, yes, it is.
It's like, well, this bike does not have 3 wheels, so I'm not going to use it. Well, you could have made a bike with 3 wheels if you cared. You didn't.
It's a self-defeating argument.
Exactly.
So, alrighty. So that will wrap up our first half. In the second half, we continue the open discussion. Topics abound everywhere. That's on our second half. But we're going to cut out for a few minutes. You have some music. So enjoy it. See you on the other side. Welcome back to Downloadable Content, our free play episode. The double runs are still here. The internet is still alive. For now.
Yay!
Because without the internet, we would not be here. That's the joy, you see, and the frightening part of the internet. But yes, we will continue on our free play discussion. More stuff to talk about. I opened the first half with topics, so I'm going to jump gears to Ron to open this one up.
Alrighty, how about Fez 2?
I read about this. I'm not familiar with the game or the developer, so enlighten me.
Fez was originally a game made by mainly one person. Correct me if I'm wrong. Someone can look up his name, Phil Fish. I could be wrong.
That
Can
sounds
someone
about
double
right.
check me, please?
I'm going to double check right now.
Wasn't he the one that did?
There were actually two of them, though, I believe.
Wasn't he part of the indie game, the movie?
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was.
Okay.
All right, so he came with Fez, and he was like one of the more outspoken people against Microsoft because of like Fez had that really like game-breaking glitch where like you would lose your save right after launch.
Yep, there were 3 people involved in Fez, the original. The creator, Phil Fish.
Okay.
And his programmer, who was the other guy I was thinking of. He was also in Indie Game, the movie. Ronald Bedard. If I'm butchering the name, I'm sorry. And then the composer who did the music.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
all
so
friends.
So Fez took off as it did, and Phil started working on Fez 2. Well, it came out like a couple weeks ago, as of this recording, that he stopped working on it after getting into a fairly large public Twitter spat with developers and the community. So, and basically, from what I remember reading of the tweets, there's a Penny Arcade report article about this as well. Basically, he's not making the game anymore because the community the gaming community and the developing community is so toxic and so full of like bile and hatred and vitriol and the white hot burning intensity of a million suns of like fire and flames.
That's definitely what he said.
That he's not bothering to make the game anymore because it's just not it's not healthy for his mental health.
He said a lot of inflammatory things, though. Like, I don't disagree because the publishing... This is something pretty well known in the publishing community, so I agree with a lot of his comments on that, but he's made himself a pretty freaking big target.
This is also true. He is very much an outspoken person. Now, whether that's just like an act he puts on or that's his actual personality, I don't know. But he is definitely someone that seems to either enjoy or does make people go A or B, and you must be A or B. There is no in between.
I also got the sense that he is one of the developers that makes video games as a passion for art.
The others.
That
Sorry.
seems true as well.
I mean, a lot of the guy's Fish's issues were he had a lot of legal issues when his business partner, who was the one putting up the money to do this, left and threatened to sue them. Not threatened to, actually put them through a lot of legal issues, and that was going on during the Indie Game the movie being taped.
And I mean, obviously we just did an episode of fan influences. It sounds like in any medium, any artistic medium, video games, movies, music, photography, painting, anything, you need to develop a bit of a thick skin and not let...
Any creative endeavor.
You cannot let criticism get to you so easily.
You think that Stephen King got as big as he did by leaving the first time somebody called him a hack? I mean... People are going... When you create, it doesn't matter what medium, whether it's art, whether it's writing, whether it's video games, whatever you do, when you create, you're going to have people who are not going to like what you created, who are going to say mean things about it.
This is just like my personal experience after being on the internet for 15 years? Holy shit, I've been on the internet for 15 years. Wow.
And he's been living here on downloadable content for 3, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So, anyway, like, after being on the internet for this long, like, you kind of gotta take things with a grain of salt, and that grain of salt is probably going to be about the size of a cement brick. So, like, there's very few things on the internet that I take at face value. Right, like there's obviously some sort of personal spin in most of it, and especially with my chosen field being art, like
Yeah, you're an illustrator.
Yeah, I'm an illustrator. Like, I'm used to people saying like, "Oh, my art's bad. You're terrible. Why are you making this?" Blah 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 blah. Like, okay, you just don't like my art because A, I don't like my art style, or B, you're just jealous you can't make anything. Which is obviously a lot rarer, but still possible.
It sounds like that Fish just really, took the criticism way too personally.
Yeah, I feel like that's what happened. Like, I feel like he took the attacks on his game, as an offense to him, and he did not take into account that people are not. They're not attacking him personally. They're attacking the thing he made, and people are going to do that because people are assholes. Like, if someone wrote up a very detailed, critical response saying like, "Here's why Fez is a bad game," I'm sure he'd be more appreciative of that, even though he would disagree with them, because the person spent the time and thought and the effort to at least explain why he doesn't like the game, instead of going, "LOL, bad game, flame, flame, flame."
I'm pretty sure a lot of it was comments specifically about him more than about his game, and comments attacking his opinions that he said about gaming.
Well, in that case, that may be an issue with him being like voicing his opinion as strongly as he does.
Yeah,
and he just may not know how to properly phrase or explain his viewpoint, because he
has no filter.
Yeah, he has no filter. He has a fair bit of his like social outcrying on Twitter. You only got 140 characters on Twitter, so you kind of gotta distill your words down to the most pure, simplistic, and in some cases like vitriolic language that you can come up with.
Yeah.
So yes, it's always sad, to see somebody stop doing what they enjoy doing because, people are dicks. But at the same time, you're going to get criticism, and if you, stop doing what you love doing because you take everyone's criticism personally, there's nothing that can be done for you. You should know going in that if you are a creative person and you create anything, you are going to get criticized.
Yep. Something that I was told, something that I read, actually coming from one of the creators of Magic the Gathering, a game I play, but is, as a creative person, you should be trying to create strong emotions with whatever you create. Those can be strong positive or negative emotions. Because if you make something that people feel strongly, positively about, there are going to be people who are going to hate it just as much, just because of what it is. If you make something that nobody feels strongly positively about, or negatively about, you're not going to be a success.
Is that from Morrow?
That is from Morrow, yes.
Oh God. All right, I could tell who that was too, just from the general purpose of the quote.
Hey, it's a good quote though.
It is. I'm not denying that the Morrow quote is good. It's just
he's killing the game. I'm saying that facetiously.
I know.
I will. So, that's how it is. And while it's unfortunate, I don't know. I've never played the game, so I can't even relate to. I don't even have an opinion on the game itself. Alrighty, moving right along. Ronny, we'll go to you.
Well, this wasn't actually what I was going to bring up first, but we'll segue into Magic Online. Why is it so goddamn expensive? Why does it have to be that expensive?
Right. For the uninitiated, Magic Online is a digital version of the collectible trading card game Magic the Gathering.
Yes,
now, if you don't know what Magic the Gathering is, I'll forgive you because it's not necessarily a video game per se. But Magic the Gathering is the longest, most successful collectible card game in existence. It basically did find the genre.
I've never played it, but I know what it is. So,
okay.
But Magic Online, it was them creating an online version of Magic the Gathering where you could play against people on the internet.
On like an online clients. So like, if you've played or seen the Duels of the Planeswalkers Magic game, it's similar to that in the sense of you still have a deck, you still have cards in it, you're still casting the cards, but instead of it being a predetermined deck that you can only tweak and adjust, you can make as many decks as you want with as many cards as you want.
Yeah, it's supposed to be...
As long as you follow the rules of the game.
Yeah, it's basically, it allows you to play online against other people and play in tournaments and do all the fun things that you do that some people can't do because they don't live near a store or it's an hour to win.
There's no Magic community and they're within a reasonable driving distance of them.
Awesome idea.
Fantastic idea.
Here's the issue though. If I move anywhere in the country with my paper collection of Magic cards, I can pick up and play in any store. But when I start up on Magic Online, the thousands of dollars that I've spent on Magic cards throughout my life are gone. You have to start from the beginning collecting the exact same cards that you've already spent tons of money on to play with them online already because there's no way to redeem cards you already have.
Are they the same price as the...
Yes.
Yes and no. There are some cards that are online that you can get that are cheaper than their real-life counterparts. For example, there is a card in Magic called Tarmogoyf.
I just pulled that the other day.
Lucky bastard. Anyway, he costs anywhere from $95 to $130, and that's just for the basic non-foil version. If you bought him on Magic Online, I think he's like $75 to $90. He's still ridiculously expensive, but not as expensive as the paper version.
What I was more getting at is the cost of packs are the same.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the cost of packs are the same. To even play Magic Online, you have to spend $10 to begin with. So there's already a little bit of an investment, and then they're supposed to quote unquote help you with giving you a bunch of cards. The problem is the cards they give you are phantom cards, and you cannot be used in anything other than a phantom event. And you can't get any cards out of a phantom event other than more phantom cards.
But what I was getting at into this is, if you're a person who plays Magic, you've already spent the equivalent of a car on your cards, most likely.
If you play it long enough, yes.
Yeah, and when you go into Magic Online, your initial investment in the game is gone, and you have to rebuy a cards with cards. And the worst part is if you play Magic Online and Paper Magic consecutively, you're buying the same sets of cards twice just to be able to keep playing on both.
And if you're at a certain level, like say for example you go to a lot of Grand Prix or Pro Tours, if you go to a lot of these high level events, you're kind of required to play both Paper Magic and Real Magic just so that we can keep your skills high enough to be relevant and competitive at those levels.
For the cards in the past, I don't expect my current cards to ever be usable in Magic Online. I don't understand why current printings can't have a number on the card to redeem in Magic Online. There's no reason.
I was going to suggest that. There's no, code on the cards?
No. There used to be, at the beginning of Magic Online, if you collected a full set's worth of cards, you could redeem that set for paper cards. They stopped doing that, but they used to.
You can still do it. The problem is, there's two issues. One, the redeeming set option for Magic Online is still doable.
I thought they stopped it.
No, it's still doable. The problem is that they changed the cost. It used to be that if you can get an entire set of cards on Magic Online, you could pay Wizards $5, and they would take one copy of each card from that set and mail you that a paper version of it. The problem is they changed that to $25 now.
On top of what you've already spent on the cards.
Yes, and those cards are permanently removed from your digital library, by the way.
So where is the gamer outrage on this?
Magic is still sadly in a little too small. Like not enough people play.
Really?
As popular as Magic is, there's not enough people that are crying about it.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's not as much there isn't enough people. The issue is there aren't enough casual fans that are aware or care about the issue to outcry. It's only the hardcore fans that care enough. And at that point, I mean, I don't know if there's enough because if you cut to the hardcore audience, you're cutting at least half of the players of the game out.
Let's say, for argument's sake, there's 10 million Magic players in the world that play paper Magic. I would say a good 50 to 75% of them are casual players that either don't know about or don't care about Magic Online.
I agree.
So you're talking like 2 million people isn't enough of an outcry of people that even care, and even all those 2 million people, far fewer could afford it.
And you have to remember, the company they're going up against is not Wizards of the Coast, it's Hasbro.
Yes, and they are not well known for being consumer friendly.
No, they aren't. As much as Wizards of the Coast, and I will say this from, I've been playing Magic since beta when it first came out. I bought my first cards in Ice Age years later. I was playing with somebody else's cards at the beginning. Wizards of the Coast is a very consumer-friendly company. Yeah. But when they got bought by Hasbro, I have no faith in that company. No faith in Hasbro at all.
Yeah, the issue is not so much with Wizards as much as it is with Hasbro.
Because they were the ones who pushed Magic Online.
Yeah.
Not that they shouldn't have, but I mean that was Hasbro funding it. So.
Yeah, I mean, and there's issues with Magic Online too. Like the client itself there's a massive memory leak in the client currently. Like you basically have to restart it every couple hours. Otherwise you risk timing out or being forcibly logged out, and you don't even know if you've been disconnected. There's issues because they're currently testing a new client, and the beta client is still really terrible. And then they're almost required, and it's getting almost to the launch point of the beta client, whether it's ready or not. I mean, there's things that they could do that I feel like Wizards could do that would help a lot. Like, in every pack of Magic that is sold in a paper format, there's 15 cards, and there's 16 cards, 15 playable cards, and the 16th card is either a little insert advertising the game, like the Duels of the Planeswalkers, or advertising the upcoming set, or it's an advertisement, or it's a little creature token. Like what they could do,
or occasionally, like in Innistrad, they'll actually give you a 16th, or the Time Spiral block. Very occasionally, they'll do something like a little bonus.
Yeah. Whereas what they could do is with that 16th card, if it's like that filler advertisement, instead you could have it be like, "Hey, here's this code. Go on Magic Online, enter this code, and you'll get this. And you'll get this exact same pack in a digital version." Or
even if it's not the exact same pack, if it had a code in there that you could redeem for one booster pack of that set.
Yeah.
Because this is something they brought up before, is they don't have a 1-for-1 ratio of exactly what's going to be in a pack.
Yeah.
There's a 90% variance just on the way it's printed.
Yeah, like if they give you a code where like you enter this code and
you get a pack.
You can get a pack, or even get a pack for like $1.
That would get me to play it. I would love to play Magic Online, but I do not have the money to be able to do Magic Online and Magic Paper. And you want to know what? Playing with people face to face is always going to take precedence. Playing with my friends. But if they made it so that you had a way to not have to spend twice the money to do both, I would be playing Magic Online right now. I'd be out of this podcast and I'd be like, Brian, I'm sorry, I'm too busy playing Magic Online. I can't,
Sorry, there's a daily event coming up in 5 minutes. I gotta play that daily event.
Yeah, sorry.
And there's benefits to playing on Magic Online too. You can get qualified for the Pro Tour, which is like basically the Magic's version of the Olympics or the World Series.
And that's why this kind of stuff would be like. That's really why I wish they would do something about this.
I know.
Like, there's got to be things they can do. You just came up with it yourself. If they had a code in the pack that you could redeem for an extra pack of Magic Online.
Yeah, or even have that pack cost $1 online. Like, if you told me like, hey, you buy this pack and you can get a digital version, like you're talking about basically getting quote unquote 2 packs for $4 or $5. Like, I'm pretty sure there'd be a lot larger. There'd be more people on Magic Online. Even if it's in the exact same pack, like you can like redeem the code for like a 75% discount.
But it would be really hard to argue with Hasbro that they would be making more money that way.
I'm pretty sure.
I believe they would.
I'm pretty sure they make more money just from the sheer quantity of people coming in and buying it.
Here's what I would be doing if I were them. I would be putting it. I'd be just like you were saying. Put a code in the pack so you can redeem it for a pack in Magic Online, and make it so that the only thing that you have to actually spend money on in Magic Online that you can't do outside of the game is paying to get into the events. If you had to pay to get into the events, however much they decide it is, just a little bit to get into the events, but you could redeem cards and packs from other stuff into Magic Online, I think they would be making more money from those events because they would have more players playing.
Yeah, like if Hasbro had the option, or was the option to be like, hey, if I mail cards to you, and I pay an additional fee, $5, $10, plus shipping and handling, whatever the cost is, give me the digital version of these cards. Like, they already do it from digital to paper. Why can't we do it from paper to digital?
I agree. There's a lot of things that they could do. I think that, that's definitely a interesting idea. I think their main issue with that would be, I think that would require a lot of manpower.
Yeah, and admittedly, and like Wizards has admitted this too. Like, Magic Online has like maybe 3 people that code and maintain it. Like, they would need like a dedicated like 20 to 30 people. People who have gaming design degrees.
Magic Online, from what I understand, has 11 people total, but not all of them are only on Magic Online. There are 3 people that are just for Magic Online, and then there's another 8 people that spend part of their time on Magic Online, part of their time on a couple of the other online initiatives.
Yeah, and that's just not enough people for something of this size. Like, they need like 20 people dedicated just to Magic Online.
Well, I mean, think about how many people they have that they devote to the paper version of it, whether it's judges, whether it's the people at Wizards of the Coast who plan through the different events.
The R&D. You've got R&D. You've got the storytellers and things like that. Like, I'd say in Magic itself, there's probably 100 employees just to be like on an average level. Probably 30 of them are R&D. Another 20 are development. They generally freelance out most of their art on the cards itself.
Yep.
And another 30 or so is probably customer support. And you have like maybe 5 people as like CEO and COO and crap like that.
Don't forget they also have the brand team.
Yeah,
probably another
3 or 4
7
people.
or 10 people.
Yeah. So like we just like identify like 90 people. So you're telling me like 90% of the company is doing this one thing, and you've got like this 10% addressing your digital component, and arguably you're getting more money from the digital component than you are from the paper, or you could. Like, there's something wrong with this picture.
Right. They don't yet, but if they focus, if they did some of the stuff we're talking about, the numbers of people playing Magic Online would go up.
Like, we're not talking about percentages. We're talking probably doubling or tripling the number of people playing Magic Online.
If they could get casual people playing Magic Online they would be making a crap loads more. And you want to know what they need to do? Like we said, people love free stuff. If you have a little thick code in the pack that says, redeem this on Magic Online for a free pack, people will go, I'd love to! Let's go redeem this on Magic Online.
I'll make an account. I'll throw $10. That means I can start building my collection online. But hey, it seems expensive, but hey, I just go into the store and buy packs and get the digital version as well. What could possibly go wrong? And then your credit card debt. But
credit card debt. We're on the same page. I think we've ranted about this topic enough. Brian, lead us forward.
It's like, well, you guys are going on and on about that. I'm just like, internet,
Facebooking.
Facebooking, checking, what's going on in the baseball games, because I've never played Magic, and therefore I have no voice in the fight at all.
Next time you're down, I can show you how. I'm teaching Deja.
Oh god, yet another thing for me to get roped into. Moving along.
Yes.
Moving along, I wanted to bring up something that this is a subject I wanted to talk about in an episode of Downloadable Content, but I don't know if I have enough material for it, so I'll talk about it on here. Video games that use literature as a basis for the game. There are three recent examples from games I've recently played that take their games and base them off of literature. The first I will bring up is a very underrated game. It was one of those games that got critically good scores, but nobody bought. I hate those.
Okami?
Not Okami.
Okami's not based off that, but I meant more games that got very good reviews but did not do well in sales.
Yes, well, the one I'm going to talk about first is called Enslaved: Odyssey to the West. It is a PS3 and a 360 title.
Isn't that the Son Goku-esque game? Or is it based on Son Goku and Journey to the West?
It is based on the ancient Chinese story of Journey to the West. It's one of the 4 great classical novels of China.
Yeah.
And this game was basically a reimagining of the story. The game is set about 150 years in the future in a post-apocalyptic world.
Well, of course.
It greatly parallels the original story. The plot revolves around somebody who basically forces the help and protection of a warrior, and many of the characters have the same names and roles as in the original Chinese story, like Monkey and Trip, or Triptako, or Pigsy, or Pig. And what ends up happening invariably for me when I play these games without reading the novel of which they're based, I then go back and read the story and I go, I'm doing that right now with Atlas Shrugged, as a matter of fact, which by and large is a basis for BioShock.
Yeah.
The character of Andrew Ryan is greatly influenced by the main characters in Atlas Shrugged. And I think the first game, though, that really got me interested in, literature-based, was Eternal Darkness for the GameCube, which is basically a love letter to H.P. Lovecraft and Edgar Allan Poe. I had never read anything by those two until I played Eternal Darkness, and some of the short stories that H.P. Lovecraft wrote are almost directly referenced in Eternal Darkness. So I wanted to know your guys' thoughts about using that as a basis for game creation.
Well, it certainly worked for Cthulhu Saves the World.
It did, yes. I've never played Cthulhu Saves the World. I know you've suggested that game to me several times.
It's a very tongue-in-cheek parody of the Cthulhu mythos. that's basically all. I mean, I can go into it, but I mean, it's a very tongue-in-cheek parody of the Cthulhu mythos. It's an RPG. It is entertaining. I mean, there you go.
I mean, I don't know of too many other games though that use literature as a basis.
I know, like, in a general sense, I kind of like that because there's already some material that's been used. I mean, in theory, we could argue that almost any RPG is based upon Tolkien or any of your classic heroes stories, because generally there's like the call to adventure and the refusal of the call and the mentor and all that bullshit.
Yes, I mean, obviously, RPGs by themselves are very story-driven.
Who has time for all that? I want to kill shit. Oh wait, this isn't.
This isn't
Tom Clancy's Tom Clancy series, isn't that based on mostly the Tom Clancy series of books?
Yes.
Like, I mean, that series by now has evolved way far into its own thing. But when it first started on the PlayStation 1, wasn't that mostly like based in the Tom Clancy universe of books?
Yes.
So I mean, there's an example like there. Like that's more of a modern day example.
Mm-hmm.
Going the other way around. Resident Evil spawned its own book series.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, there are games that spawned novels. I mean, for example, I own the prequel novel for BioShock. I also own the prequel novel for Dead Space.
I suppose the question. Oh, sorry.
Isn't Dead Space still like a semi-bait? Like, not. It references to Cthulhu stuff, doesn't it, in Dead Space?
No.
No? It's just its own creepy little otherworld evil bullshit things? Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I suppose the question, Ryan, is there aren't many games that do this. Do you think there should be more?
I certainly would not mind seeing more games that have their basis in literature.
I mean, there's also. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a pure rip of like a book in video game form. It could be like you said, like Atlas Shrugged. Like, why not have a character or two based upon the ideas or the ideals proposed in a book? Like, I don't know. You could have like the Gentle Giants sort of thing going on. Is that Catcher in the Rye, right? With George and his mouse.
No, that's Of Mice and Men.
Of Mice and Men, thank you. You could have like a Gentle Giant sort of figure in a video game, and that could be based upon George from Of Mice and Men. Like, that could be an interesting sort of dynamic where you have someone who's either taking advantage of or is trying to protect this person, and that in this video game world could be a very strong but not particularly intelligent.
I wonder who's going to come up with the game that is based on some of the ideas and plots and characters from Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's going to happen eventually.
Well, yeah, but I think a video game based off of Game of Thrones is going to be they're just going to do a video game version of the TV series, and it'll be terrible.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about a direct tie-in or a license. I mean, I know Lord of the Rings.
They already have one. It's called Final Fantasy.
I mean, it could be a video game basically like an adaptation of a Song of Fire and Ice, which is the Game of Thrones, like world setting. So I guess like I'm trying to think of other like books I've read that I would not mind seeing be adapted into a video game, where it's like the philosophy or the theory of the book. 1984 could make for a nice dystopian sort of video game world.
If I'm allowed to pull from more than just basic literature, I think the manga Monster would make a great RPG. Very fucked up.
So yeah, I mean, I like when video games do that because it's out. It seems unexpected. It doesn't happen often enough, and anytime it does, I'm like, well, that's interesting. So, just wanted to touch upon that for a little bit.
Well, going from one adaptation, I have an adaptation discussion. Why do video game movies always suck?
Oh God. Flooding back to the episode that I devoted solely on this topic. It is because, and I will give you the answer, because video game audiences and typical movie-going audiences are vastly different. Let me finish here. The thing is, in order to make a video game appeal to the general public at large, the story has to be tweaked in such a way that the general public can follow it.
But there are movies that don't all the time. There are very, very good movies that come out every year. They're not the summer blockbuster, which it seems to be what they're trying to make the video game movies into. The video game movies should be made for the niche audience that you think a lot of the other ones are made for.
But that's not going to make the studio company money. They need to make money off these movies.
But they make movies like this all the time. That's what I was getting at, though.
Oh, like
not
what?
every movie's a summer blockbuster. In fact, like 75% of movies are not the summer blockbusters. They're not ones that they spend all of their money on.
The thing is, though, that, I mean, a lot of people don't... I mean, a lot of the general movie-going public, if they're presented with some of the complex stories that can be found in video games, they're not going to recommend it because they can't follow it.
Okay.
For example, Silent Hill.
Yeah, that was a very disappointing one.
Silent Hill. I saw it in the theaters. Silent Hill, the first Silent Hill. I haven't seen the second one yet. I want to. I saw the first Silent Hill movie, and I followed it, and I enjoyed it. It did horribly. Because the people who made the movie, I mean, they were fans of the game, and therefore they were not concerned with trying to adapt the movie to a general public. It was made by fans for fans. So, the fans of Silent Hill followed the movie, and some of them enjoyed it, some didn't. And the general public had no fucking clue what to make of it. Whereas Resident Evil, the Resident Evil series of movies, keep making money hand over fucking fist because the general public can follow the action, but people who have played the series of Resident Evil games are sorely disappointed because almost nothing from the games made it into the movie.
If you're picking up a well-known franchise, but you don't give a shit about the fans of the franchise actually watching your movie, then why are you picking up a well-known franchise? Why are you not making your own movie?
This is something that I want to see. Like, there's a video game adaptation that I think could be done really well, and I'm being totally serious about this. BioShock.
They're trying.
Like, the very first BioShock. Like, take BioShock 1, have it be, like, your one... I'm trying to think of a lead male actor I would like in a BioShock movie.
And you don't think they're going to butcher it?
I'm trying to think, like, how could they not butcher it? And still have it be relatively faithful to the video game. I feel like they would have to have it be one person. Like, I feel like it has to be one person, like, as the main protagonist, and they have to encounter the quote-unquote assistant people, like the Doctor and Andrew Ryan, somewhere along the way, so that way we can see the interacting between them that we would get from, like, the audio tapes, and the like over the intercoms and stuff, like that, like there has to be some sort of interaction to help show like, hey, here's Andrew Ryan's philosophy, here's Atlas's philosophy, here's the Doctor, and like how these characters matter, and like as the gameplay goes on, like.
And I'll come right out and say it. We as a general movie-going public, we do not have an attention span anymore for finely detailed stuff. We want an easy-to-follow plot. And with the complexities of a lot of video games, a lot of subtle nuances, the general public they're not going to get it.
But not every movie. Like, that's the thing I'm getting at, is not every movie is the summer blockbuster. Not every movie is the multi-million-dollar thing. The studios do films that cost less money, that they don't need as much money to recoup. They do niche films. They're mostly the ones that win the Academy Awards.
We also have a negative stigma attached to video games in this country.
That's
there
true.
you go.
That's the other issue.
If you come right out and say, based on the video game, you've lost so many people.
Yeah.
Because we have such a negative... video games are for kids. That's the stigma.
Yeah,
They're for killing things.
I kind of want to argue against the moviegoers don't want to watch a complex plot movie, because, I mean, they probably don't, but there's a couple evidence that make me think that they do. One is Inception. People really liked Inception, and that plot is really fucked up. The other thing that I think that makes me think otherwise is the success of the Marvel movies.
Well, I would say that what Brian's saying isn't that and correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, I think what Brian's saying isn't that the populace doesn't want to see a movie like that. It's that the companies, the filmmaking companies, don't feel that people want a complex movie, so they don't make them.
Yes.
The Final Fantasy anime.
So, I mean, you think a studio is going to try to take a risk on something like that?
Well, if they did and it was a success, then they would be, yeah. It all depends on where they want to take their risks, and
Yeah.
they are an industry that is very adverse to risk.
Yeah, you have to find a publisher or a developer or whatever. Like, you have to find a studio company that's willing to take the risk and is willing to take the loss. And not many of them want to do it because they want to make their money, because they want it to be a summer blockbuster. They want it to be like your Avengers or your Man of Steel or your Batman. They're not willing to take the risk and have it be something that breaks even or has a little bit of a loss. And also there's the issue of they need to figure out that you don't need to spend $100 million or whatever on a special effects budget. You can get away with quote unquote special effects in the sense of it being well acted, good costumes, and good set design. And less CGI, because that's where a decent cost of things is going to come in from.
I mean, geeky concepts at the Marvel movies have done very well before. They don't believe video games are going to be the same way, and I don't understand why. But, that's neither here nor there. I think we're all on kind of the same page on that.
Yeah, I mean, the things, I mean, the video game movies that have been come out, I mean, Resident Evil, as I said, has been so far removed from the source material that the fans of the video game franchise hate it, but the general public loves it, and it makes barrels of money. So,
Hang on, this is something I'm going to bring up too. Like, as we're finishing up this topic, like, I want us to do an episode where we talk about why we think video games have a negative stigma in America, and what we as the community can do about it.
That is an excellent idea. I'm going to jot that down.
You mean other than the fact that America has a negative stigma towards everything?
Yeah, besides the fact that Americans hate everything.
Yes. That isn't, freedom. Anyway,
Yeah, if it isn't freedom, hot dogs, guns, and American pie, we don't give two. We hate everything else.
and the Bible. Don't forget the Bible.
Yeah, the Bible. Forgot about the Bible.
I was going to say, I forget which comedian it was, but one of them went that Americans are divided on deeply divided on every important issue. That's why there's a stigma associated with it, because even if there wasn't, if you like it, then there's somebody on the other side, somewhere in America, who hates it because you like it. On any issue. Anything.
Pretty much. Alrighty, do we have anything else, or are we winding this down?
Let's wind down and have the last thing be your current frontrunner for Game of the Year.
Okay, well, that's a good thing to end on. Right now, let's see, I'm trying to remember what games came out this year. Let's see, I know. I'd probably have to put... Let's see, Mass Effect 3 did not come out this year, correct?
Correct.
Don't look at me, I don't know.
I know.
Correct. No, correct. It was last year.
It was last year. Because I was going to put... if Mass Effect 3 had come out this year, I was going to say that. But, no, I will throw in my vote for Bioshock Infinite. As right now the current frontrunner for Game of the Year. That is a great, great game. And the what the fuckery that happens in the plot is
at the end.
At the end.
Especially at the end.
Also because of the what the fuckery at the end, it opens the door to so many other plot connections.
Yeah. Slight aside, they're doing DLC for Bioshock Infinite, and one of them is not only are you playing as Elizabeth, but you're playing in Rapture.
Yes, and Rapture in its prime.
Yes.
Rapture in its prime. I can't wait. That is going to be... That is going to be... I don't always buy DLC, but when I do...
I think we had a discussion about that once.
So, that is my current frontrunner for Game of the Year. Ron? You brought this up.
I brought it up. I'm going to double check the games I played this year, because I'm trying to keep a list of what I played. But I'm pretty sure, as of this point, I'm gonna second the vote for Bioshock Infinite, because there was a couple things that I did not like about it, but by and large, it hit all the points I wanted to hit, and the story was really well done. Not to mention the Elizabeth is a character that I want to see more of. Like, even not even the support role, I want to see the character of a naivete and be brought into a real world, and how that person reacts to it.
So there's that. And Ronnie, you have no opinions.
I have absolutely no opinions. The only game that I've played that came out this year is Luigi's Mansion 2. And as much as I enjoy that, I'm not nominating it for Game of the Year. I'm reasonably certain there are better games out there right now.
What about indie games?
That's a really good question, because right now, I might be able to nominate a couple indie games, but being put on the spot like this, I'm honest to God, I don't know when a lot of the indie games I buy have come out.
Okay.
Fair point.
Well, what game did you buy recently?
How about you guys? You guys continue to discuss for a moment. I will load my Steam up and look.
Okay.
Yep. I'm loading my Steam currently.
I've got one.
Thankfully, I was able to resist most of the Steam summer sale.
I got one indie game I can nominate for Game of the Year and came out this year.
What's that?
Battle Block Theater.
I get to play that, so I can't comment one way or the other.
It was made by the Behemoth, same people who did Castle Crashers and Alien Hominid.
Okay.
It is a hilarious and difficult platformer. I nominate it for Game of the Year not only because it is absolutely hilarious, difficult, and fun, but also because it dragged my wife. It dragged my wife out of her lair. She actually watched me play this. And any game that can do that automatically wins.
Okay.
So,
There's a couple that caught my eye. One is Rogue Legacy. I don't know if you've ever seen or played this one.
I've heard of it.
Ryan.
I've never played it.
It is. I liked it. It's definitely got its unique little charm. The other one is the Shadowrun Returns. Mainly because the engine that it uses is pretty decent, and the other benefit is there's a major point of the developers still gonna make stories for it, so you're still gonna have developer developer content made for the game for several months, if not years to come. But there is a huge drive for community-generated content in this game, because when you buy the game, it comes bundled with the stage editor for free. So you're playing, so there's you can make your own levels in the game and make your own story in the game. So I think that I want to see the community games coming out of this.
Excellent. Ronny, have you found anything?
No, don't even worry about it.
Alrighty, so we will pass on Ronny. So, though that was fun, now that we've blown through almost 2 hours, if you have any thoughts, comments on this episode, any other episode, have anything you want to say, there are a number of ways you can get a hold of us. You can get a hold of us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/downloadable content, on Twitter @DLContent. You can email us, dlcontent1@gmail.com.
Before we end, I want to mention one thing to highlight how we should be doing esports more often. The international that's going on, like we mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, 181,000 people watching the English broadcast.
Holy shit, excellent.
98,000 watching the Russian.
So yeah, there's a market for it. So, it remains for me to thank Ron and Ronny for their wonderful contribution to this episode. It was a very good episode. Good chat all around.
Glad to be here.
And so, I'm Brian, and we will see you next time. Have a good one, everybody.